Hello sports fans, welcome to Super Sports Central. Today, we're going to be going over my Week 5 UFL predictions. So last week I had a record of 2-2, and that brings my record on the season to 9-7. Kicking things off this week with the game we have on Friday, and that is the Showboats at the Stallions. And we'll have a live watch party for this game that will start at about 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Friday, so I hope to see you guys there. The Stallions, they've won 3 straight, and they're 3-1, and are coming off a win over the Roughnecks. And the Showboats are the league's only winless team, as they're sitting at 0-4 and coming in off a 27-9 blowout loss to the Panthers. The Showboats are actually playing on Friday for the second straight week, and the Showboats, they're making a quarterback switch. After having E.J. Perry and Troy Williams alternate drives last week, they're going to be starting former UT Martin quarterback Dresser Wynn. E.J. Perry will be the backup, and then Troy Williams will serve as the emergency third quarterback. But Dresser Wynn is getting the start for the Showboats. He has been their quarterback 3 the entire season, and now he gets his first start of his professional career. The Showboats, they've also said Dresser Wynn is going to be, quote, their quarterback for this game, so it seems like they're going to let him play the entire game, which is definitely a good thing, because I'm not sure they can get much worse than what we saw with their quarterback rotation last week. But I like the move for the Showboats. They get to see what they have here with Dresser Wynn, and who knows, maybe Dresser Wynn can lead them to a win. But the quarterback switch, it comes with the Showboats offense scoring just 12.5 points per game, which is second worst in the UFL. And Dresser Wynn and the offense faces a good Stallions defense, which is second best in the league, allowing 13.8 points per game. While the Stallions haven't been great against the pass, allowing just under 200 passing yards per game. And the Stallions are also very banged up in the secondary. Then on the other side, the Stallions are also starting a different quarterback, although for them it's not by choice. Matt Corral is out this week with a hip injury, so Case Cookus will get the start, and he will actually face his former team, as he made 6 starts for the Showboats last season. And I like Case Cookus, but I definitely don't think he's as good as Matt Corral, but I do think he will do a good job leading the Stallions offense. But the Stallions offense, they've been okay so far, scoring 16.2 points per game, and they face the Showboats defense that has struggled, allowing 22 points per game, which is second worst in the league. But I have the Stallions with the win here. I definitely think it's possible we see the Showboats with the upset win. Dresser Wynn might be great. We just really have no idea what we're going to get with him. So I'm going to take the team that's been better overall. That's the Stallions. They're home. They've got the more experienced quarterback. And I'll take the Stallions to get the win by a score of 23-10. Next game is the game we have on Saturday, and that is the Panthers at the Battlehawks. So this is a big game, especially for the Battlehawks, as after their 2-0 start, they've dropped 2 games, and now they're 2-2. And they really need to avoid falling below 500. But the Battlehawks, they don't face a Panthers team that's playing pretty well. The Battlehawks offense is going to be led by former TCU standout and Heisman finalist Max Duggan, as starting quarterback Manny Wilkins is out for the year with a torn Achilles. Now, we saw Max Duggan last week when he replaced Manny Wilkins when he left with injury, but Duggan did not look too good. But I definitely still think Max Duggan can be a good player here in the UFL. Max Duggan leads a Battlehawks offense that is scoring 21.8 points per game, and he can lean on a good run game, as the Battlehawks have the best rushing offense in the UFL, averaging 151 rushing yards per game. Although, the Battlehawks in their last 2 games, their offense has really struggled. During that 2-game stretch, they're averaging just 15 points per game and 165 total yards per game. But something positive for the Battlehawks is offensive lineman Abdul Beecham, as well as star receiver Hakeem Butler, are both expected to return for injury. But the Battlehawks offense faces a Panthers defense that is 4th best in the UFL, allowing 16.2 points per game. And the Panthers actually have the number 1 run defense in the league, allowing just 83.2 rushing yards per game and 3.4 yards per carry. So this could be another tough game for the Battlehawks offense. Then offensively for the Panthers, they've been playing well with Bryce Perkins at quarterback, although head coach Mike Nolan hasn't made a decision on who this week's starting quarterback will be. Because Bryce Perkins has been playing very well, but Danny Etling is now back healthy, and he returns from injury. And obviously, I'm glad Danny Etling is back healthy, but the Panthers don't need to overthink this. Play Bryce Perkins. He's been a much better quarterback. The offense looked a lot better with Bryce Perkins. And I think everyone thinks that, except Mike Nolan. So, just play Bryce Perkins. Don't overthink it. But the Panthers offense is actually leading the league, scoring 22.8 points per game, and they're second in the league, averaging 304 total yards per game. And they face a Battlehawks defense that started the season strong, but hasn't been great as of late. As on the season, they're allowing 18 points per game and 237 yards per game. Both those stats about middle of the pack. But this is a tough game to predict. I trust the Panthers because of how they've been playing. They've been playing well. And now the Battlehawks, they got a new quarterback. They haven't been playing well already. and now you've got a new quarterback on top of that. Could be a rough game for the Battlehawks, but the Battlehawks, they really need this game. They're also at home, not easy to play in St. Louis, and I can definitely see this game going either way. But I'm going to take the Panthers to get the win. I think they're the better team right now. They've been playing well, and they're not playing with the new quarterback. Although I would be a lot more confident with this pick if I knew the Panthers were going to stick with Bryce Perkins throughout the entire game. But I think the Panthers, they've been playing better. They're the better overall team at the moment, and I've got the Panthers by a score of 23-14. Moving to the games we have on Sunday, starting off with the Defenders at the Renegades. So this is a huge game and potentially a playoff preview in the XFL. Both these teams are currently 3-1, and the Defenders are coming off their first loss season, as they lost to the previously winless Brahmas. And the Renegades, they're also 3-1, and they looked pretty good last week in their win over the Battlehawks. And I think this is going to be a great game. The Defenders' offense is pretty good, as they lead the league in yards per game at 327, and they're scoring about 20 points per game. But the Defenders' offense matches up against a great Renegades defense that is the #1 scoring defense in the UFL, allowing just 10.8 points per game, and they're allowing just 232 yards per game. Then on the flip side, the Renegades' offense has been pretty solid, as they're scoring 20.8 points per game, which ranks 3rd, although their offense hasn't been great over the past few weeks. And even though they did score 30 points last week, their defense actually scored over half of them. But the Renegades, they face a Defenders defense that is great, allowing 15.5 points per game, which is 3rd best in the league. Now this is a really tough game to predict, because these are two really good teams. I think this is going to be a lower scoring game, as both these teams are elite defensively. But it's tough to predict because these two teams are very even. Both teams great defensively, they run the ball well, and quarterbacks Luis Perez and Jordan Ta'amu have both been two of the better quarterbacks in the league so far, even though I'm not the biggest fan of Jordan Ta'amu. But this is definitely a game that could go either way. It is the hardest game for me to predict so far in this UFL season, but I'm going to take the Renegades to get the win. They're at home, and they're not the team who just lost to a winless team. I can definitely see the Defenders bouncing back and getting a big win, but I've got the Renegades in a low-scoring game, 17-13. And our final game here in Week 5, we've got the Brahmas hosting the Roughnecks. So this is a game that on paper shouldn't be that good because you've got a pair of one-win teams, but I think this game is actually going to be pretty good. Both these teams actually playing fairly well, despite being 1-3, as the Brahmas, they're coming off their first win of the season, as they upset the previously undefeated Defenders, and the Roughnecks are coming off a close loss to the Stallions. Now, the Roughnecks, despite the loss last week, looked pretty solid, and they definitely seem to have found their quarterback. Jalen McClendon was forced into the game due to an injury to Nolan Henderson, and he played really well, and he's going to be getting the start this week for the Roughnecks. And I definitely think McClendon can continue to build on last week's performance, especially because he faces a Brahmas defense that has not been too good. As the Brahmas are worst in the UFL, allowing 25.8 points per game, and worst against the pass, allowing 202 passing yards per game. Then on the flip side, the Brahmas offense has actually been playing fairly well as of late, scoring 24 points last week and 23 the week before, and they seem to be finding their stride offensively. Although the Brahmas, they're averaging just 16.2 points per game on the season. But the Brahmas offense faces a Roughnecks defense that isn't too great, allowing 20.5 points per game. So I think this is going to be a pretty good game. Both these teams are playing fairly well offensively, not the best defensively. I think this is going to be a higher scoring game, can definitely go either way, but I'm going to take the Brahmas to get the win. They're coming off a big win over the Defenders. I think they'll continue to build on their momentum. They've been playing pretty well under interim head coach Peyton Party. I think that'll continue. And the Brahmas, they're also at home, which is actually their first home game of the season. But I've got the Brahmas winning in a good game, 28-23. But those are my Week 5 UFL predictions. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to like this video, subscribe, turn notifications. I do my best to post as often as possible. Be sure to check out the community tab of my channel, where you guys can vote on who you think will win this week's games. But that's all for this video. I do my best to post as often as possible, and I will see you in the next video.